Welcome to the Fantasy Syndicate Podcast with your hosts, Joshua Poniatowski and Alex Taylor. Let's talk football.
Hello, and welcome to the Fantasy Syndicate Podcast. My name is Josh Poniatowski, and with me, Alex Taylor.
What up? Josh, before we kind of dive in too much to kind of like our week 2 review, everyone out there, Josh and I do have a little surprise, a little something we've been working on, to kind of give back to everyone who's been subscribing, commenting, really helping us engage on this page. We want to kind of give a little raffle, little prize back. So we actually have a signed JSN Jackson Smith Njigba jersey that we will be raffling away at the end of the season. And how you get your entries in there is every time you comment, max 1 comment per video, that kind of adds an entry for you. And at the end of the year, we'll be raffling off this signed JSN jersey, which we're pretty excited about.
Yeah, I got the box right here. I don't want to open it up because it's sealed, but it's got a signature. It's a sick looking jersey. Even if you aren't a JSN or Seattle fan,
I've always loved Seattle colors.
He's been looking electric, so add to the collection. I thought that was a pretty sweet gig.
And the way he's been playing, this is a collector's item. He's been trending hot this year, so we're getting a good time here.
His opportunities are insane. It's perfect timing, right? You're high on JSN. Fantasy community's high on JSN. We're going all in for sure.
And then I was gonna say we haven't keeping track. We counted all the comments for the previous videos that kind of started this season. Not like season 1 or anything, but just from the start of this season. But they actually give a bonus entry to all those people because they were just from the good of their hearts giving the comments and stuff like that, which helping us out. As you can see, like Nick there and Robin and Owiz, we actually gave them like bonus points for having multiple comments on our previous videos. Thank you guys very much. And then keep grinding away and try to win that jersey.
It'll kind of be the celebration after I win all of our championships and all of our
Please, my teams are hot.
All right, good deal. Jumping into this week, today we're talking about the week 2 recap, waiver wire ads, other really just good information to know. We tried to dig into a little bit of the weeds, provide content that we thought was valuable that maybe just didn't always show up on the screen or on the data if you're looking at the baseline. But before we do that, I was actually driving home today. I was thinking about the games. I was considering what are important takeaways, snap counts, defensive schemes, breakouts, all the stuff that we do. And then I reminded myself, it is only week 2. You know me, I love using data to make informed decisions. And I feel like, yes, we're utilizing data to make informed decisions right now. However, week 4, like the end of week 4, week 5, I feel like that is where we have enough sample size to say, all right, we can be confident about trade targets and players that we like, players that we don't, based on what we've seen. I just wanted to mention that to keep that in mind before we jump into it. Do you think that's a fair assessment of,
I think it's fair. It's definitely considering how there's been some pretty big blow up games already in this only 2 weeks of the season. So when you look at teams' overall stats for rushing yards given up or passing yards given up, some of them are a little skewed based on what you would anticipate that defense finishing at the end of the year. So, but it's a little more of a dice throw when you make moves this early, as far as buy lows and whatnot. You're kind of anticipating it, but you don't really have the data to kind of back it up. But
Washington versus Green Bay. Talking about Green Bay, I don't care. You can't tell me otherwise. Green Bay has the best defense in the NFL. They held the Lions and Commanders, who are arguably some of the 2 top 10 scoring offenses, right, to under 18 points. They have given up a total of 98 rushing yards to those 2 teams, which is insane. They have given up under 225 passing yards a game, and they've only given up 3 touchdowns, which 2 of them happened in garbage time. I'm talking one was the last minute of the fourth quarter, and the other was the last 4 or 5. They just seem to be matchup proof, at least right now with everybody healthy. So.
No, they've been playing elite defense. Yeah, again, against 2 very good offenses. Goff was at Lambeau. We know he kind of shrivels up when he's not inside his dome. So maybe, I'm curious how he would play when they play in Detroit this year. But Packers defense has been incredible.
Josh Jacobs is on pace to finish the season with 357 opportunities, and that is just on the ground. Every running back with over 300 attempts last year finished in the top 10. I am treating him as a top 10 running back until further notice.
He is.
Again, the opportunities are insane.
I was going to say, he is only averaging 3.6 yards per carry so far. but his usage has been great, and he has a touchdown in both games. So we got to be feeling decent with both of those.
He is the Kyron Williams of this year, maybe, insane
Okay.
volume, insane opportunity, and just not as efficient because he doesn't necessarily need to
get some red zone looks.
Right? Exactly. So similar to 2024, Tucker Kraft appears to be the wide receiver one. We have seen 2 weeks of Kraft having the most offensive snaps, the most route runs. Now Jayden Reed has a broken collarbone. I feel like, is just a valuable tight end to own. And the only one to own in that Green Bay situation.
Well, yeah, as far as tight ends go, I think he's kind of proven himself to be like a must-start tight end. I mean, just the nature of that Packers offense is always going to be a little boomer bust. He might just not get the focus that week. But he's proven that there are going to be games where he can absolutely take over.
And Matthew Golden, as I was watching the game, Jordan Love missed him on 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
He could have had 20 plus fantasy points had Love actually thrown the ball accurately. If you're a Golden truther, he's a rookie. Don't drop him just yet. It's still early. I am a Golden owner. I'm just holding on to him. So, just be patient with the guy. Maybe that happens, maybe not, but just be patient. That's all I'm saying. Moving over to the Commanders, Ekeler left the game with an Achilles injury, which is devastating because they could be like his last NFL game. It's kind of sad.
Probably,
right?
yeah. An era.
Yeah, it's an end of an era. Moment of silence. All right, there we go. No, hopefully Ekeler comes back. It is sad, non-contact injury, Achilles, all that doesn't sound good.
Over 30.
His age, over 30, right? Yeah, I mean, but maybe he tries something crazy, but he's got a lot of other businesses going on in his life. Seems unlikely. But for fantasy purposes, I don't think this will change much for Jacory, Croskey-Merritt, Bill. And let me kind of explain why. I know a lot of people saw that injury and were like, oh man, Bill is about to pop off. Jeremy Nichols immediately took over third down and 2-minute drill snaps. When Ekeler went down, he filled in. When Ekeler was hurt last year, for the 5 weeks that he was out, during those weeks, Brian Robinson either did not see an increase in opportunities or he saw a small increase. Through those games, Brian Robinson averaged 12.18 PPR points per game, which was running back 21 to 25 range, and 11 point per game in half PPR, which is 23 to 30. So if you have someone that is bullish on Bill, personally, I would send him off just based off of what we've seen usage-wise and opportunities based off of last year. But, if you're high on Bill, keep him.
First off, I felt like bullish on Bill would make a great band name or something. Or a shirt, bullish on Bill. He's at peak mystery right now. He's like the thing in the box. He could be a boat. I don't know who knows. So he's just a big dice roll. I wouldn't blame someone for wanting to keep him and be hyped about him. And I could also say trade him away and see if we can get it from him too. So, he only had 21% of snaps last week. I think that definitely has to go up. With a full week of no Ekeler. So we'll see.
Yeah. But again, if you could get a boat for him, trade him for a boat. Even if it's a lesser boat, right? The usage as far as the wide receiver situation, we talked about how they rotated, and it was similar to this week. Even Richard Sherman, he was commenting on the game, talked about, I think it was Jalen Lane or Noah Brown being on the field in an important third down, and they dropped the ball. He was like, why is this guy on the field right now?
Yeah.
And he just didn't understand why they were rotating.
Sometimes they're getting too cute with swapping in, trying to go for the wild card. Terry still saw 91% of snaps. But yeah, it's definitely been a slow start for his year, but it's also kind of been a slow start for a lot of wide receivers around the league this year. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, with Terry, he missed a lot of camp. He was doing the whole holdout thing. It takes a couple games. If you're in on Terry, buy him for cheap, but maybe next couple games, he's clearly the wide receiver one. He should see opportunities. Deebo ended up taking 92% of his opportunities and just dominated the slot. Almost every opportunity from the slot was him. Most of his production did happen in garbage time. I do think, based on what we've seen these past 2 weeks, he's going to be schemed to looks pretty consistently. He's got touchdown upside being on Washington. I think weekly he's a fringe flex wide receiver based on opponent.
Yeah, that touchdown was super garbage timey. But how do you feel about him? He's also been doing their kick returns. Is that a chance for extra points in case he pops one, or is it a chance for extra injuries for a guy who's also already been pretty injury prone?
This came up, I want to say it was like 2 years ago, maybe a year ago for Kyren Williams, where he was moving over, I think it was punt return. And everybody was like, oh my God, he's going to get injured. Kyron's on punt return. That's the end of the world. Still run back 10. There was only, I want to say like 55 opportunities, or it was a low number. It wasn't a high number that he actually had to return. So I don't see this as being a big deal. Obviously, you're on the field more, you higher chance of injury, but I don't see this being a big deal at all, and it doesn't change my outlook on him. Zach Ertz continues to be involved. He didn't see an opportunity, I would like to note this, until the third quarter, and 90% of his fantasy points came from one single drive, but he was efficient with his opportunities. One thing to know is in week 1, Ertz was 50-50 with Deebo in the slot, but in week 2, that shifted to more 70-30 Deebo being favored. If Ertz is on the field, he has upside moving forward. That's all there is to it. It's just a crowded situation, but he has upside.
I think at this point, we kind of know like what Ertz is. He's reliable. He's going to have some decent games. Like I'm fine starting him in a pinch, or maybe I'm had some have my starting tight end. Like I'm fine with him. I'm just not expecting anything huge out of him.
The crazy part is he is tight end 2 right now in half PPR. He's setting the clock back. He's doing what I was thinking Kelsey was going to do. He's 35. He's setting that clock back. For this game, we didn't really have any waiver wire targets for y'all to focus on. Moving into the Browns and Ravens, Quinshon Judkins found his way into the starting lineup, and he made an immediate impact. While he only played 19 offensive snaps, he saw 13 opportunities, which means he saw an opportunity of 70% of the time he was on the field. I think this is going to be a situation to monitor. Judkins appears to be the running back to own in Cleveland based off the usage in week 1. Even though it wasn't a lot, they're ramping him up. He could eventually become an every down back. And if that happened, he might sneak into must start running back territory, even with the Browns offense based on what happens with Sampson and stuff.
I agree. Dylan Sampson did end up with another touchdown this week, but his yardage was not that good though. So this, could be a fun 1-2 punch for running backs for the Browns for, years to come, but we do need Jerome Ford to stop getting the ball. He's still getting like 30-something % of snaps. If we can eliminate him, we might have a pretty good little 1-2 punch of some rookies.
It'll be honestly interesting how they utilize that backfield now that they have Sampson in the mix versus just Jerome Ford, because Jerome Ford was the clear third down guy coming into the season. Harold Fannin Jr. still had a fantasy relevant showing for a tight end, but his usage is what is really most important. On one tight end sets, Fannin played 9 out of 36 snaps. Njoku saw the other 27. So while Fannin is used in more than tight end sets, like he's used all over the field, I think this does curb his upside a little bit. He could be considered a starter weekly just simply due to volume, like who's going to get the ball in the field. But if they have a neutral or positive game script at any point, I just feel like he becomes much more touchdown dependent than really some of the other tight ends, since he is essentially splitting opportunities with Njoku and splitting opportunities with all the other wide receivers, Jeudy and Tillman and some of the other guys.
I mean, he did still finish as tight end 13, which is like, we thought it's kind of a down game, considering he was one of the most hyped waiver ads of week 1. And how volatile that position has been and still is pretty much. I'm so happy starting him with just the clear upside that he's offering.
With the Ravens, Zay Flowers just continues to be a target hog and really just made the most of his opportunities.
I mean, back-to-back 7-catch games. Can't hate that.
Massive. I still think he's a wide receiver 3, but we'll see how the season goes.
Yeah, I got 0 Zay Flowers stock, so I agree. But
Mark Andrews, the big ticket item. He saw an increase in offensive snap usage to 80%, which was fantastic. Wow. This is great news coming from week 1 where he was at 50%. He actually ran the second most routes on the team. He played more offensive snaps than Zay did because of probably the sets. He still seems to be touchdown dependent, but this is optimistic if you are an Andrews owner. Don't just give up just yet.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 9 total yards over 2 games. I think it is a fair response to maybe give up on him, depending on, or at least, get out some feelers for different waiver wire options.
We saw this last year. The waiver wire targets for this game: Harold Fannin Jr., Judkins, if he's available, again, unlikely. Cedric Tillman, I'm thinking he should already be rostered, but I would also add that to the list, based on your league. Next up is Panthers at the Cardinals. Even though Bryce Young finished with 300 yards and 3 touchdowns as a stat line, Do not get caught sleeping because it was a very ugly game. If you watch that game, it was terrible. He put up 170 yards and 2 touchdowns in the last 5 minutes of the game when Arizona switched to a much more pass-friendly defense. Just don't be fooled by this Bryce outing and be like, he's back. He found success. That's not the case.
Man, I'll tell you what. I had the cards in my big survivor pool, and they was giving me a heart attack.
Were
man,
you
I was like, they're up
sweating?
like 20 something with like 5 minutes left. All of a sudden, they have the Panthers have the ball, the chance to take the lead and score. I was like, what is happening? But back to Bryce. I mean, fantasy. Don't care if it's garbage time necessarily. He still finished as QB8 this week.
That's true.
But his 55 passing attempts were 9 more than his previous career highs. I wouldn't expect that much passing to really ever happen again. But
yeah, it was a perfect combination of garbage time, defense. Ted McMillian is that dude. He's the guy. He is on pace to see 160 targets. The Panthers should continue to suck and play from behind. He will be the garbage time king, continue to start I'm viewing him as a wide receiver 1 moving forward with a low touchdown upside. I know that's a surprise for a lot of people.
No, I agree. I thought he looked great. I mean, he also had a nasty one-handed catch on the sideline and just fell out of bounds, so that didn't count. But like, he looked insane. He was just out there mossing people. He's definitely the real deal, and you should be confident starting him.
Even though Chuba lost some goal line work to Rico, he commanded 73% of the offensive snaps versus 64% in week 1. So he saw an uptick in usage. He also got some work back from Rico in third down situations, which I honestly didn't see that happening, especially after week 1 and Rico being brought in just to play that third down role. If you have Chuba Hubbard, like, you should be feeling really great about his usage. Obviously, he's on the Panthers, so that sucks. But his usage is definitely there for running back and opportunities connect with fantasy points.
His half PPR points, week 1, 16.4, week 2, 16.2. Chuba just keeps plugging away.
Moving into the Cardinals, James Conner played 70% of the offensive snaps, which was up from week 1. He still commanded the early down and short yardage situation, which, again, that's what we value in a running back 1. Until we see anything change in usage, it is the James Conner show in Arizona. Trey Benson is and will continue to be an elite handcuff. His 4 receptions all came at the end of the second quarter when they were trying to get into field goal range on that third down drive. I'm not reading too much into that usage just based off of what it looks in the advanced analytics and from watching that.
I mean, but Conner only had 12 opportunities in a game that the Cardinals were ahead immediately on like a pick 6 in like the second play of the game or whatever it was. So, I mean, I don't know. I was a little concerned with his usage in a game that they were dominating early on.
Marvin Harrison Jr., he was on the field and he ran as many routes as McBride. The Panthers ran a cover 3 at around 55%, which honestly, that curbs Marvin Harrison Jr.'s strengths and really upside. That coupled with Arizona dominating the entire game, it just resulted in a dud performance. I'm not too worried about Marvin Harrison moving forward, but
I mean,
monitor.
It's just like, it's unfortunate because it's like, I feel like dud performances are kind of becoming just too common between them. Like, it's easy to kind of like we come up with reasons why it didn't work, but it's also like at some point you just got to make it work. I don't know if you're going to be this elite, generational talent at wide receiver. So
he's still wide receiver 2 on his team, right? McBride is still the number 1. So when you view Marvin Harrison Jr., I think he should be viewed like a Devontae, Adams or Smith, as far as like who's getting schemed opportunities and targets.
for Devontae's.
Wide receiver 2 range. That's what I'm considering him. It's his second year, second game. We saw that they could get it done in week 1. I'm not too stressed about that. A waiver wire target, Trey Benson, handcuff. He's definitely an elite handcuff. Moving in the Broncos and Colts, while it didn't seem like this because JK just dominated the opportunities, Harvey saw an increased role in offensive snaps. He is still a very slow burn, but it is optimistic. It wasn't a lot, but it was a little bit.
I mean, but Dobbins is just running the ball well. I just don't see a way Harvey really like completely takes the reins of this backfield unless there's an injury. Like, I mean, Dobbins is just going to be involved.
He's the guy to own right now in Broncos country. But again, you got to let rookies develop. So hold Harvey. At this point, whatever you're going to give for him is probably not going to be worth what he could potentially end up being. I just don't think he's worth moving at this point. Troy Franklin has appeared as the wide receiver 2 in the Broncos offense. Unless something changes drastically next week, it looks like week 1 was really just a test between him and Marvin Mims, where they saw almost 50% split in week 1. Franklin apparently won, though, because he saw twice as many snaps in week 2. He actually finished over Sutton in offensive snaps, which is crazy. Obviously, he had a dominant stat line. If he is on waivers right now, you should definitely add him just to kind of see what happens. But either way, you're getting a wide receiver 2 that it appears to be, and a Broncos offense that should be somewhat high-powered. So,
I mean, he finishes wide receiver 8 this week, 100 all-purpose yards, 10 opportunities to score. I mean, he's only 22 years old. So, I mean, there's a lot of upside here. I think he's a very strong waiver wire ad this week, and I've already put in a couple bids on him.
It's nice. Yeah, and the Colts, the reason why I was so high on Sutton last week was because the Colts, 2 of their 3 starting cornerbacks were injured right before the game. I was like, Sutton's about to pop off. And sure enough, it was not Sutton. It was Troy Franklin that found that goal. Moving into Evan Ingram, he only saw 42% of the offensive snaps, and he is splitting time with Adam Trotman. Evan Ingram is splitting time with Adam Trotman. Did you think we were going to say this in week 2?
No, but I enjoyed listening to you say that.
It's an increase in what he saw in week 1, but it's still gross. I'm not dropping Ingram just yet, but he's creeping. He's definitely creeping in that territory.
He is very creeping, and I have him in a couple leagues. I'm sitting there making my waiver wire bids, and I'm looking at his name hard. I decided not to, but he is very close. I mean, Trotman ended up finishing as tight end 10 on the week, which is kind of surprising.
Yeah,
most of this touchdown. I mean, it was kind of a week. Tight end week this week?
Moving to the Colts, Tyler Warren played 93% of the offensive snaps, which was more in week 1. Tyler Warren owners rejoice. Josh Downs did take more slot snaps. This could have been due to game script, or it could be how the routes are going to be going moving forward. This is what I was worried about at the beginning of the season. Josh Downs, I think, had some injury concerns early on. So maybe they're gearing him up a little bit. Maybe he loses those slot prime value targets, but either way, he continues to be a dominant option to Daniel Jones.
I mean, over 75 yards in both his games to start his career. I mean, dude's real deal. He's already started and forget it territory at tight end for me.
I actually texted Alex before this game, before the Denver game, and I was like, if Daniel Jones can play well, he has the potential to finish as a quarterback 6. And I mean, this is a little crazy take here, but what we just saw against Denver kind of made me a believer a little bit.
Yeah.
And if you follow the Twitter account, you would have picked up Jones this week before the game started. But if not, he's essentially an ad candidate if you do need a QB for me.
I mean, this is a Denver defense that we all assume is a top 5 defense unit in the league.
They are.
And he looked great against them. So, I mean, maybe there's just something in the water in Jersey that, the Jets and the Giants just can never have good quarterback play. I don't know, but Indiana Jones now has 3 rushing touchdowns on the season too. So this is not a Colts offense is just cruising right now.
Yeah, I mean, top 10 offensive line. He has 4 different weapons to throw to. He's got a very capable running back, a solid enough defense. Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's ever had that in his football career. So maybe that makes a difference. Waiver wire ads are Daniel Jones and Troy Franklin. The Eagles and Chiefs. For the Eagles, Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown saw an uptick in usage on the passing side of the ball, but they didn't have a fantasy-relevant performance. This is starting to get worrisome. If we continue to see the game script favor the Eagles, which we expect to, these 2 will continue to be capped. We will need to continue to monitor the situation, but it might be considered, this might be time to consider to get out before it gets worse. It depends your risk tolerance, but they still got some value.
It's like, even if they do go out and have a juicy week 3, you're never going to be totally confident that the Eagles won't just get up early and cruise on Saquon and Hurts the rest of the game. So at any point they could just be duds for the rest of the season.
It's worrisome for sure. You got to figure out what you're going to do with those 2. It's either a hold or try to pull the ripcord and try to get as much value as you can. Moving to the Chiefs had 5 either wide receivers or tight ends play almost identical offensive snaps this week. If you can buy Rashid Rice, do it. Buy that man. at whatever discount, even if you maybe even got to overpay. When he comes back, it's going to be insane the amount of opportunities that he sees. Traquan Thornton was rewarded, obviously, with a touchdown this week. I look at Traquan Thornton as like an Alex Pierce type of situation.
Yeah, I mean, as a general rule, I just have zero faith in really any Chiefs playmaker right now until Rashee Rice comes back.
Annie, how dare you? So talking about Kelsey, he saw the second.
He's under the any category. I just said, yeah.
He saw the second most usage out of the slot. Marquise Brown rotated with 5 other people, which is a completely different look from week 1. If Brown doesn't see that dominating number of snaps in the slot, Kelsey, he's just a guy that you have to start because he's a corpse and he's on the field and he's going to get targets. And that's what you need out of a tight end.
And he also shuffled a pass into an interception to lose them the game this week. So
he dropped a touchdown pass, which tells you that he should have had even more fantasy points than he did. It happens sometimes, even to the greats.
Yeah.
Isaiah Pacheco saw an uptick in his usage in week 2. We need to just monitor this because there's still really a split backfield. I'm not putting him into any starting running back discussion until we see what happens and they start winning again. If they start winning, then maybe you can find some value.
Yeah, I mean, his 2.1 yards per opportunity on the season is pretty gross, and that's leaving anyone who went 0 RB like me in one league feeling very exposed. I was like, oh, I'll get Checo cheap. Woo.
As far as waiver wires go, we didn't think there was anybody significant to add. Next up is the Falcons at Vikings. I expected both Drake London and Darnell Mooney, them being back, Pitts would lose opportunities, but that is not exactly what happened. Pitts ended up seeing an 85% snap rate prior to garbage time, which is important, but his slot role was just non-existent. He went from 20 plus snaps out of the slot in week 1 to 4 in week 2. Mooney dominated that usage. Even though this happened, Pitts, it's still interesting to me moving forward. He still has usage. He could be a streamer weekly based on matchup and coverage. He's still option 4, so I'm not getting over it.
Yeah.
But Kyle Pitts stays alive for me, okay? He's still living. He just opportunity, okay?
I was more concerned with London's targets going from 15 in week 1 down to only 4 in week 2.
Yeah,
I mean, he did kind of have the shoulder concerns going into the game. I don't know if that's, maybe worse and they're kind of letting on. So just something to kind of monitor.
We saw, a little bit of Eagles-esque where they just fed Bijan and just let him do his thing and just got up early and, dominated. But
that game was boring. It's like there's nothing but field goals for first 3.5 quarters.
For the Vikings, J.J. McCarthy went down injured and is expected. We don't know exactly. I'm just ballparking this based off of some of the doctors we talked to. Miss about 2 to 4 weeks. I honestly think this is a huge upgrade for J.J. because Carson Wentz should get the nod at least in week 3. What do you think about McCarthy?
McCarthy he was looking bad in that game even before he went down. I mean, at one point, Wentz was considered a borderline elite QB and then just completely fell off. So now, Kevin O'Connell offense, can he kind of get him back into that form? I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be totally surprised if Wentz comes out and looks good throwing to Jay.
Yeah, I just think it's going to be better for JJ's fantasy outlook. And I don't know about on the field stuff, but for fantasy. TJ Hawkinson actually saw a decrease in usage and rotated with some of the 2 tight end sets, which is not a, if you're a TJ owner. Obviously, we're still going to have to take a look at this moving forward, but at no point in his career do I remember him rotating with other tight ends. Maybe it was a fluke, but that is just not a good look for a guy that we thought was going to be the second receiving option in this offense.
Yeah, I mean, the whole Vikings offense has really just looked bad so far. This week in general, Hawkins has been pretty pedestrian to kind of start the season. I'm a little concerned about him.
Aaron Jones left the game with a hammy injury. Jordan Mason should get the nod, and we saw him with the Niners just be a workhorse. If he sees this role, he could be a locked-in running back too until we see what happens to Jones. It's looking optimistic for week 3, though.
I mean, he was running really strong in week 1 too. So I mean, if he does get the rock, he wasn't that impressive this week, but he did look good week 1. So I'd be pretty confident with him as a low-end RB.
We didn't have any specific waiver wire ads for this game. Carson Wentz, he is a warm body that should quarterback 1 on a team. Giants and Cowboys. We had an unexpected, good old-fashioned 90s Giants versus Cowboys shootout. And, we just love to see that. Everybody ate in this offense. Dak, Javonte continues to benefit from a good offense. It's just, it was just great for everybody.
Yeah, CD's still looking for his first touchdown though, but he's been playing well. But yeah, this team is basically what we kind of thought going into it. Just zero defense and just slinging the rock the entire game. I love it.
Moving over to the Giants, Russell Wilson found some old man magic, played like he was in his mid-20s.
Yeah, it was fun to see. I mean, that pass to Neighbors was absolutely mint. But then you have a brutal interception in overtime. So, just a roller coaster of emotions.
Giants doing Giant stuff. Of this game, though, I would say Tracy saw especially in a monster game like this, Tracy saw the worst offensive usage since week 4 of 2024. That's not good. That was before he even, got to nod. Cam Scatterbo is running back 1 in New York. If he is on your waiver wire, I am saying pick him up immediately. I'm saying he's running back 1. And he's probably going to split opportunities with Tracy in the upcoming game, but he looked like the much better option. He should be that first and second down role. Potentially, maybe it's a split backfield because Tracy still has value. But if Cam can take that over, man, and rookies normally ramp up, not down. Just get better for him.
Opportunities for a rookie in his second game. I mean, he's borderline starting into flex territory for me right now. But I think give it a couple more weeks. He does have Chiefs this week. I don't love that. Could be not necessarily a great week 3, but I do like the trajectory that he's going.
Add Cam off waivers if you can. Seahawks and Steelers. For the Seahawks, Kenneth Walker is the better talent at running back, and I still believe that. The issue is that it's still very much a split backfield.
I mean, but Walker went out there and he said, put some respect on the name. I mean, 118 yards and a score on just 14 opportunities. This might be kind of a frustrating backfield to kind of predict each week, but I think KW3's kind of put himself back into the low RB2 discussion. And they do get the New Orleans Saints this week. So if they get up early, could be a good big rushing game for them. So yeah, I like KW3 a lot more than I liked him going into last week. I think I'm a little more confident.
I like Kenneth Walker because I think he's more talented, and talent usually ends up rising to the top. Yep. Hopefully that happens.
The cream always rises.
I spoke about this in my Start Sit video, but Cooper Kupp found some opportunities. While he's still wide receiver 2 in this matchup and on the field just as much as JSN, if he can start building some trust with Sam Darnold, he might be a cheap wide receiver 2 boomer bust option. He saw plenty of opportunities this week, which we didn't see in week 1.
Yeah, 9 targets. You don't hate that. The rookie Horton did finally get out there and did find the end zone this week. I mean, he could start creeping up to something to monitor.
For the Steelers, Jaylen Warren, he's still in a split backfield. It looked good on paper for him for fantasy, but he just played above 50% of the running back offensive snaps. He's somebody that I'm not trusting weekly.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm avoiding this backfield like the plague. Kansas City playmakers and Steelers running backs, they're all just not touching them.
And Green Bay wide receivers too, right?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. DK's usage has been a little strange. Last week, he didn't see a single route over 15 yards. I don't know if this specifically had to do with defense or Aaron Rodgers, the connection, but I think they just need to get more creative with DK's play calls just for his sake. Like, I just don't understand it. I don't get it.
I mean, that touchdown really saved his day. He had nothing going on besides that. But this is an Arthur Smith offense after all, and he doesn't really know that the vertical pass exists other than, to tight ends. But the Steelers do have the Patriots this week who have given up the most passing yards in the league so far. So if DK is going to have a pop-off game, I could see it being this week against the Patriots.
The waiver wire ads are Cooper Kupp and then maybe Calvin Austin based on how deep you are. Well, he's wide receiver 2 in Pittsburgh. So it just depends how you're feeling about that offense, but he's a deep ad. Rams and Titans. Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua are going to continue to be the only pass catchers who are on this team and really to own. Stafford is just peppering both of them with targets anywhere they are on the field. It does not matter.
And Devontae had 5 opportunities in the actual end zone.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, just only came down with one of them, but he could have had an even bigger game. He's looking juicy this year.
Yeah, and that's, we talked about this earlier in the season. I was like, Devontae might take some opportunities away from that usage just because he's a red zone threat. Kyren Williams owners, you should be afraid. According to PFF, Kyren just played 75% of the offensive snaps, which is the second time in 2 seasons he has done that. And when I say second time, I mean lowest, like usage-wise. That is not good. Corum ended up taking the 3rd, 6th, and 11th drive, which means it's not just eating into like random usage. He's being used on entire drives in games. This is something as a Kyron owner you definitely need to be looking at. If you aren't a Kyron truther, I'm a Kyron truther, so I'm not ready to pull the ripcord yet. But if you aren't a Kyron truther, you could potentially try to get some value out of him right now. The reason why I like Kyron so much is because he is an amazing blocker. And I know that sounds like so ridiculous to say, but he fits into McVay's scheme so beautifully because he can just block so much better than most running backs in the league. And coaches love that kind of stuff. So I'm sticking with him. Maybe if you aren't a truther, sell that man and try to get value for him because I think he's floating about running back 10.
And Corum looked good though. 44 yards on only 5 attempts. That was pretty explosive. His snap counts up to 30%. He's definitely creeping up over Kyron's shoulders.
For sure.
Still a little more of a committee than we're kind of used to seeing out of that Rams backfield.
Maybe they're just trying to keep him fresh and healthy, and maybe Kyron's efficiency will go up because of it. So be optimistic. Moving over to the Titans. Did you see that touchdown from Cam Ward? Like how
it was great.
Insane was that? He was
that was great.
Sprinting the opposite direction and literally just threw it all the way across his. But like that had to be one of the most difficult passes to make. Hitting a sprinting target going the other direction too.
Yeah,
while somebody was guarding him.
But it looked sick.
Oh, right, absolutely. I still think Ridley, though, is wide receiver 1 in this offense. He ran 10 more routes. He was on the field for 10 more snaps. He's the guy to own in Tennessee. I'm not fading, Ridley, but, obviously it's a good look for the rookie getting a touchdown there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not fading Ridley either, but I do think Manor absolutely needs to be rostered. I actually started him in one league. I was dealing with some injuries. Put him in my flex. I was very happy about that touch. I know. That team's looking a little rough with some injuries. But hey, 13 targets in the first 2 weeks for the rookie. I'm excited about him.
For sure. Tony Pollard, talking about opportunity. He played around 90% of the offensive snaps. Just a huge and massive value play until Tajay comes back. I'd start Pollard. He's getting opportunities. Even he's on the Titans.
40 opportunities to start this season. I mean, that's all you need to know. Locked in RB2.
Waiver wire, LK AMA&OR. Bills and Jets. With the Jets, Justin Fields left the game with an injury and is questionable for next week. Tyrod Taylor would get the start if he's not able to go. I honestly don't think it matters too much who is the quarterback for Garrett Wilson because all we're looking for is volume. Maybe Tyrod has more looks than Fields because Fields runs more consistently, but I mean, I don't know if this changes my outlook on Garrett.
I mean, Fields went down with the concussion in the 3rd quarter. At that point, he had only completed 3 passes in the 3rd quarter. Taylor is absolutely an improvement for Garrett Wilson.
Okay. Upgrade, Tyrod Taylor. All right, Garrett Wilson, Alex said, wide receiver 5 finish this week. All right, so moving into Breece Hall, he's appeared to take over the running back room. Prior to garbage time, he saw 73% of the offensive snap share. This is running back 1 usage, and until we see something different, he should be treated that way as the main back moving forward. The split backfield just seemed to be becoming less and less likely because of the talent of Breece, and talent usually comes through.
Unfortunately for him, he does have the dominating Tampa Bay Buccaneers run defense coming up this week. See back-to-back stinkers for Breece. But yeah, overall, I like what I'm seeing. I think it could be a buy low maybe next week after he gets shut down by the Bucs. At least he might beat us up in the passing game.
The Bills. Josh Allen is human. He is a human being. He broke his nose and he didn't score a touchdown all in the same game.
I think that's
I don't know why.
Some kind of record. I don't know if anyone's ever done that. It's still
probably is. It's like, all right, nobody has ever gone 30 plus games scoring a touchdown in every game and then breaking their nose and not scoring one while still playing in most of it, right? But it reminds me of the scene from the movie 300 where Leonidas is like talking to the king, and he said the world will know that free men stood against a tyrant. The few stood against the many, and before the battle was over, even a god king can bleed.
I think his name's like Xerxes or something like that.
I think you're right, Xerxes.
I think it's like Xerxes.
Yeah. So
spears him right through the cheek. It was great.
Yeah. And the fact that he did not have a touchdown, he broke his nose. he still found a way to finish better than 9 other quarterbacks this week, which is just silly.
I mean,
So,
dude,
stud.
quarterbacks have been plagued with injuries to start this season. I think the whole world was kind of like panicked a little bit watching Allen run to the sideline with ripped his helmet off immediately. But I mean, the Bills were spanking the Jets, and James Cook was popping off on the ground. I mean, Allen just didn't really need to do anything but just stay healthy out there. That's all we were worried about. And then they get the poorest Dolphins defense next week, so it should be another just layup game for the Bills.
The wide receiver tight end situation, it came back to earth for week 2. We talked about this last week. There were 5 players who ran almost identical routes, and the wide receivers again rotated. This ended up leading to who scored? Matt Collins ended up scoring, because that rotation situation. Again, I still think it's just going to be hard to trust this room weekly. It's just difficult to tell who's going to be that guy that week. So
for sure, and then especially on a week like this where they were up convincingly the whole time, they just didn't need to throw, so there's going to be even less. It's going to be diversified and little opportunities.
Maybe Tyrod Taylor's a waiver ad based on your league's QB situation. He might be a quarterback 1 starting in week 3. Patriots and Dolphins. The Patriots, Trayvon Henderson has 3 holding calls in a game, which 100% impacted his opportunities. If you weren't watching, you would just see that he only played 19 snaps and that he didn't have a whole lot of usage, but it was because of the holding calls that he saw that decline. It might be time to buy low, honestly. Again, it's still early, but something to consider. I still believe he has late season upside. Coming out of college, he was a great pass blocker. Like, that was the narrative. That's what everybody was talking about. The ratings of PFF, like, everything fits with that. I'm not too stressed about it, but it's unfortunate for the rookie how he started that way.
Yeah, I mean, his opportunities dropped from 11 in week 1 to 6 in week 2. I mean, I don't know. You obviously, he's not even flexible at this point.
Drake May showed why he was one of my quarterback sleepers. Granted, this was Miami, but it is great to see. Like May getting it done on the ground and through the air. So.
I mean, QB3 finish on the week. I mean, he's also showing off his rushing upside. 10 rushing attempts. I mean, he was out there scrambling. So yeah, promising start for the season for the young QB.
Yeah, he had a high scramble rate. I don't know if it was number 1, but it was up there in 2024. Diggs saw an increase in usage, and he played much more out of the slot. The wide receiver room still rotated. Booty played most of the wide receiver snaps. He also secured a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, the Booty hype trade, it was kind of saved by a touchdown, I guess, but he still only had 1 target in the whole game. I just got to put some fear on the people and maybe have him second guess me.
Yeah, because I liked Booty last week. I liked him as a start this week too. I'm glad he scored a touchdown. That's where that 5 weeks of data can really help us make more confident decisions when we're doing that. As far as waiver wire ads go, we didn't necessarily have anything specific for this game. Jaguars and Bengals. Jaguars, we saw Liam Cohen just work his magic this week. His elite play calling, great defensive performance, I thought, kept Jags and honestly kept T-Law in this game. So,
I mean, Jags get the 4th most total yards on offense this year. And that's, you just need T-Law to maintain.
Need him to not play so bad. Yes, maintain. True. Again, Brenton Strange hit the 90% offensive snap usage, and he ran more routes than everyone except Brian Thomas Jr. While the fantasy performance was just not great, this is awesome news for Strange owners. Don't give up on him just because of the stinker. Again, tight ends are far and few, and he gets a 90% usage. We want to see that out of our tight end.
Yeah, I mean, 5 targets was serviceable. Among the tight end position, which you're not like super confident in ever, I think 5 targets is okay.
Brian Thomas Jr., this is really the big one. He's had back-to-back poor fantasy performances.
Mm-hmm.
All I'm saying is just buy. You've probably seen videos out there of him dropping a couple of passes, which he did drop, or the narrative starting that he's like afraid of the ball and afraid of hits with some of the videos that are floating out there.
And some of them were hospital balls. Some of them were like he caught that and absolutely destroyed. So
they were. And again, that's coming back to T-Law. But this man is seeing 9.5 targets a game on average. He's number 1 in snaps, number 1 in route run. At any point, if Travis Hunter has to step in at the cornerback role, just like he actually did this week because they had an injury, that usage is going to then increase and get better, and his opportunities will get better. Hunter, I feel like, is one of the key for Brian Thomas to go from, wide receiver 15 range to confident what we saw last year, wide receiver 1, based on how much defensive usage he gets.
I mean, Colton said he was dealing with a wrist injury, which nobody really knew about ahead of time.
That too.
It's like
Yeah,
how much of that? Because he literally did drop something that just hit him right in the hands. It was like, what's going on here? A little suspect. I don't know, but it's just like we need to monitor it. It's like the vibes have just been kind of off to him and T-Law going back to last year. I do still have faith and agree he is probably like a buy low. I'm just not like selling the farm to get him necessarily.
I got you. Yeah. I mean, you pay for what his lower value is right now. Travis Etienne is still the running back one, but there's a big but behind this. Bashal Tutin took over the Tank Bigsby opportunities. Etienne has looked good, but Tutin, man, he's a stash in all leagues. I thought he looked great for the opportunities that he saw.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Lincoln provide 2 solid running backs last year in Tampa.
Yeah.
The Jags actually lead the league in 339 yards on the ground. It might just be like a sneaky, lucrative committee situation.
T-Law can figure it out, maybe.
Just maintain. That's all we need from you, T-Law.
For the Bengals, Joe Burrow, I'm sorry to say this. There is discussions that he might be out for a couple weeks to the season.
Yeah,
based off the surgery news. Yeah, so, I don't know if they've decided on what exactly is happening, but the next man up is Jake Browning at this point. If you're a Burrow owner, I'm sorry, but this 100% unequivocally impacts fantasy production for every single Bengals player. So it does. I don't, regardless of how good these guys are, not having a Hall of Fame quarterback is going to hurt you. I'm personally not super worried about the 2 chases. Jamar still the main wide receiver weapon, and he has a connection with Browning, and Chase will continue to see volume regardless of who's in at quarterback. What I am worried about is T. Higgins. And I can share data from Joel's My Fantasy at Yahoo. Pairing Joe Burrow to Jake Browning as quarterback. Jamar Chase went from 27% to 23% target share. T. Higgins' target share dropped from 22% to 15%. He's got to be much more efficient with those opportunities, which he was actually last year. Chase Brown should see less scoring opportunities, but again, should see plenty of volume. So for me, Jamar drops to like wide receiver 15 range. T is more so like wide receiver 25 range. And Chase Brown, again, I had him higher this year, running back 5. Now he's dropping down to running back 10, maybe 15 range, given on the week type of situation.
I mean, Brown was averaging under 3 yards a carry, and that was with Burrow at quarterback. And making the defense
2-game sample
respect
size.
The pass. Yeah, well,
2 games.
I absolutely do not think Chase Brown finishes as top 10 RB this year. But so Jamar Chase played 7 games with Browning in 2023. He averaged 9.5 points per game and half PPR. Higgins only played 5 games with him. He averaged 11.6 per game. I mean, and his was pretty boom or bust in his game logs.
A bunch of touchdowns.
I don't know. All of those are like pretty middling. I mean, you saw him put up some decent yards against the Jags. He also threw 3 interceptions. I think it's going to be a little bit of a roller coaster, and I think all of those players definitely take a hit. It's still an NFL offense. They're going to go out there and play the game. Things are still going to happen. They're still studs, but they're definitely not in the elite category that they were in before.
A waiver wire is Bashal Tutin. He's definitely a must add. And then Jake Browning, again, based on your quarterback situation. 49ers and Saints. For the 49ers, Ricky Parcel had a down week, even though his usage is off the charts. If I had to bet on 29-year-old Juwan Jennings or a 25-year-old second-year wide receiver who got shot last year and came back in the same year to eventually take over this, wide receiving core, even with a QB at Mac Jones, I'm betting on Ricky. And my script is flipped.
I was expecting more than 6 targets for him this week.
Yeah.
I'd say I was a little disappointed in that, but I do still have faith in him in season-long value.
Talking about Brock Purdy being a system quarterback, I mean Mac Jones being a system quarterback. I think it'll be feast or famine in this offense for Mac. Some weeks CMC will just take over the role and just dominate, and then some weeks I think Mac will see flashes and dominate. I think it'll depend on the game plan with Kittle out. Like Shanahan's going to scheme stuff literally every week based off of who they are playing, and that's how I expect the next couple weeks to go.
It was a really nice QB9 finish for Mac Jones. I mean, it was, albeit against the lowly Saints, but Shanahan's proven he can win with pretty much anybody behind center. So I'm just curious how they play about the Cards this week.
I got to talk about Jake Tongs, my tight end
of
one.
Course.
Yeah, no. His usage increased from last week. He's option 4 in this offense, but I just wanted to mention the man. He looked good. Good looking dude.
You're obsessed with him. I mean, because obviously everyone knows. I mean, Josh and I are pretty much texting throughout most of the Sundays watching the games. Anytime that man touches the ball, I get an alert. Doesn't matter what's happening if it's a 3-yard little out, but he's only serviceable while Kittle's out. I mean, and even that's in very deep leagues.
Yeah, for sure. With the Saints, Chris Olave has seen number 3 most targets through 2 weeks. Volume. Continue to see volume, treating him like a higher-end Jacoby situation.
I mean, so yeah, Rattler with a 3-touchdown game was not on my bingo card for this week. I was pretty surprised. Also, fun fact, the Saints actually have 2 more yards of total offense this season than my Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which also is shocking. I don't expect that to last. But, I mean, the Saints have proven that they're not, completely barren of fantasy relevance.
No, they got some gems. And the next gem I'm going to talk about is Juwan Johnson. He played, and this is a tight end you should be getting excited about. He played for 95% of the offensive snaps. He was only behind Chris Olave for snaps and routes run. The silly usage out of tight end. He needs to be rostered in all leagues if he hasn't already. Starting category, volume. Again, waiver wire start.
Was Taysom Hill just forcing this man down or something like that? This is his 6th year in the league, and all of a sudden he's just getting all these targets and stuff. What's happening? I don't know. It's kind of just coming out of nowhere.
The Saints have literally no other options. Then Foster Monroe is her, and Taysom Hill broke his legs. He's become the only option. Bears and Lions. The Bears, DeAndre Swift continued to dominate the backfield. He had 68% of the offensive snaps, not garbage time. He dominated the running back one role work. Kyle Montgomery was a backup.
Put some respect on the name. Swift was completely saved by a garbage time touchdown. Otherwise, he had a complete dud. Ruined my start sit video of the week. Mononga is the truth. Just wait, people.
I hope it happens, but the usage is not there to dictate anything at this point.
Creeping up.
Cole Kmet ran more routes and was on the field for more offensive snaps by almost double than Colston Loveland. Not good for Loveland.
Yeah, I mean, Loveland's kind of made himself droppable, I think, at this point.
Dang, dropping. You're giving up on the rookie already because of you. I get it. Crowded, wide receiver room. I could see that. I don't know if I'm ready just yet. Rome Odunze, honestly, kind of appears to be taking over the wide receiver room. He is their elite red zone option, which, we saw last year. We saw this again in week 2, again in week 1. Him and DJ Moore are, I think, much closer. I don't think Rome will be on the receiving side of a touchdown every single week.
Sure.
But I think I think these two will kind of flip-flop in production as time goes on. This is not me giving up on DJ Moore, by the way, whatsoever. I just think it's a little bit closer, that discussion.
Yeah, I mean, it's only 2 weeks in, but I mean, Rome's wide receiver 4 on the season, so he's proven to be one of the better values at ADP so far. 9 and 11 targets in both the games. I mean, if Ben Johnson can get Caleb Williams going and on track, I mean, Rome could be in for a massive year.
For the Lions, Jared Goff absolutely shreds man coverage. I had to add a text to my start sit video because of how much this man plays well, and Chicago played 50% in week 1. Any man coverage matchups that you see with Jared Goff, he should be, I think, an auto start for the most part.
Plus dome, we knew he was going to do better on a dome. Yeah, I mean, this is just the classic explosive Lions offense that we've kind of known to love and expect.
Isaac Tesla saw an uptick in usage. I love this guy. That's all I wanted to say.
Still only 1 target, but yes, his snap count did technically go up, but only 1 target. So then moving over to Monday night, we got the Bucs versus Texans. First off, Baker Mayfield just has that dog in him, even with both starting tackles out against a very good defensive end duo from Houston. He still found a way to win, baby. He is only averaging 191 yards passing yards on a game start of the season, but I think once so if tackle comes back, Godwin gets back into things, I think he kind of picks up. Mike Evans, my boy, has also been pretty quiet so far. Been averaging just 53 yards a game, no scores. And now he does have to go up against Sauce Gardner in week 3. This could be a really good buy low candidate maybe after next week. I'm a little bit worried about that. And then also Rashad White ran in that game winner for us last night. He saw 12 opportunities and was on the field for 31% of snaps. I know the community loves a good bell cow. Tampa Bay, I just think, is better when Bucky and White are just both contributing, in tandem.
Yeah.
So, and Bucky still 121 yards all purpose on 23 opportunities.
Sure. Only thing I want to add is Emeka Mbuka. I love this guy, but he is only seen a 19% team target share. So it's just something to think about as a Mbuka owner, especially with Godwin maybe coming back in a couple weeks and how that usage goes. He's amazing. He's talented.
Yeah.
Baker
It makes sense. I mean, he was getting propped up on touchdowns, 3 touchdowns in the first 2 games. I mean, he's a rookie. It makes sense. They kind of got him, ease him into everything,
That's true.
And then
but
switching over to Texans, I mean, I don't know. I'm just starting to think maybe Stroud might just be cooked. I mean, I don't know. He hasn't had a weekly top 10 QB performance since week 4 of last year. He only completed 13 passes last night. He did have a long scamper and got 27 yards on the ground, which kind of gave him like a medium, borderline okay performance. But I'm getting a little worried about Stroud.
I'm not out on Stroud just yet. He has the worst offensive line in the entire NFL. And the past 2 weeks, he has arguably faced some of the better defensive lines in the league. He saw the Rams. He saw your Bucks this past week, who have been tearing it up on the defensive line. I just want to see him play against a team that is just the worst and not the best on the other side, right? Like somebody like the Titans, I think, would be who they have next week. They really only have Jeffrey Simmons, who's found success in the pass rush. I think this game will be a little bit more fair of assessment because I do think the Titans have a strong secondary. I think this will be a good assessment. What do we actually see out of Stroud when he doesn't have a nasty defense facing him?
Hey, all I'm saying is my boy Baker was missing both offensive tackles. You had Daniil Hunter, over 100 career sacks on one side, and Will Anderson 2 years ago from being defensive rookie of the year on the other on that side, and he still went out there and balled out. So no excuses, play like a champion, okay?
He threw 2 touchdowns for I don't even know how many yards, and he struggled the entire game. That's my point. That's what happened. You watched the whole game.
Moving on. So the Texans running game, I mean, is pretty much as bad as we kind of thought it would be. I mean, Chubbs did have a big touchdown to kind of save his day. He was looking pretty bleak, but he's only averaging 14 opportunities a game. Woody Marks did have a big 37-yard catch and run. He looked way more explosive than Nick Chubb last night, so I could see him kind of slowly taking over that role as the season goes on.
Yeah, Woody is my Kyle. You know what I'm saying? Based on his college production, he's a great blocker, and I shared how much, I like good blockers as running backs. Maybe he finds more opportunities as it grows. Maybe Chubb starts to lose that touch, and maybe he becomes a 3-down back. Crazier things have happened, I suppose. So
we'll see. I mean, Nico saved his day with a touchdown, but I mean, he's only been averaging 3 catches and 38 yards a game. And this is concerning for a guy who finished pretty low key last year too. We kind of were thinking maybe he'd rebound like an off season and kind of recover. But you starting to get a little worried about Nico, Josh?
No, absolutely not. I am again going to blame the pass rush. Because of the offensive line cannot block worth crap. Seeing a 28% team target share. Any wide receiver who's seeing 28-30% team target share should be a viable receiver. So I'm not too worried about Nico, especially if CJ can get some time in the pocket.
And then switching over to the second game, we have the Chargers at Raiders on the late Monday night game. Justin Herbert just continues to shine this year. 248 yards passing, 9 yards per attempt, 2 scores. It feels like the Chargers are passing the ball a lot more this year, but he actually only has 1 more pass attempt per game than he was averaging last year. He's just doing better at it. Higher completion percentage, higher yards per attempt. We got Quentin Johnson and Keenan Allen both repeating with their touchdown performances from week 1. This is an offense that has proven they can maybe provide value to numerous mouths to feed in the passing game. Josh, on a deep threat tier ranking of Alec Pierce, Rashid Shaheed, and JMO, where would you like to put Quentin Johnson on that?
Put him last. Quentin
Johnson below Alec Pierce.
Yeah, all 3 of those guys. Yeah. I mean, Quentin Johnson is a great open field wide receiver, and he just has a problem catching the ball sometimes. That's just the truth. I'm not putting him above either of those 3 who probably can catch better than him. So,
hey, he's got 3 touchdowns on the year already. Also, Marion Hampton lost some snaps to Najee last night, and it was pretty ineffective and with the touches he was getting. I am starting to get a little worried about him moving forward.
Yeah, I'm going to have to look into that usage and the efficiency and a couple other things based on game script. We expected Najee to creep in a little bit coming back from injury. The issue, I would say, is more so the efficiency when it comes to Hampton. And just talking about this whole offense, even though they have been on par with last year, Jim Harbaugh talked about wanting to get Herbert an MVP. And with the weapons they have this year, maybe that's what he's doing. He's opening up the playbook. He's like, sling it as much as possible. We'll get you that MVP this year.
They're looking good. Maybe who was not looking good was Geno with a game to forget last night. I mean, only completed 24 of his 43 for 180 scoreless yards with 3 picks. Jacoby and Brock Bowers still getting targets, though, 12 and 8 respectively. And this wasn't much success as a collective whole to really be had. Brock did see his snap percentage increase to 77%. I know he only had 51 that week 1. Is 77 a little bit more satisfactory for you, Josh? Are you a little more are you happy with that?
Yes, for a tight end that was drafted in the second round, yes. I think 77% should be his at least minimum when Juwan Johnson is getting 95, okay? So,
Denti saw his snaps get decreased, actually, and he hasn't had much room to kind of work with yet on this season. We're kind of waiting for him to really pop out a juicy run, a statement run. But he still looks good on the eye test. Like, he's running hard. There isn't a lot of kind of room to work in. He is the Commies this week who are giving up over 100 yards a game. So I think he could maybe assert himself this week. There has been some videos of people dragging on him for his pass protection in this game. I haven't seen any of those on Twitter or anything like that. But it was pretty low effort. He was pretty much just standing there and letting Geno get sacked. So I'm starting to get a little concerned with Genty.
All you're hoping out of the Raiders is volume, right? Well, that's all we got for today's episode. We hope you all enjoyed it. Remember, we got the JSN jersey giveaway. If you like what you heard, we would love a like and subscribe. But if not, we just appreciate you hanging out. And until next time, go steal a championship. We'll see y'all then.
Peace.